Welcome to the Local Foods, Local Places radio program on KRZA 88.7 FM, connecting cultures along the upper Rio Grande. Today, I am here talking with James King Jr., and he's a good friend of mine that I met during a Fresh Tracks Train the Trainer workshop where we got together and worked with youth from across the country doing all kinds of leadership activities and talking about how we can make the world a better place. So it's been a friendship ever since, and I'm really glad that you're taking the time to talk to me today. Would you mind just telling me a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and the path that led you to the work that you do today?
So James Edward King Jr., like you said, go by he, him, his pronouns. I'm born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to the ones who took care of this land forever and for more, the Muskogee and the Creek. Man, shout out to my ancestors, African Americans who ran and built Atlanta. And I say that in a multitude of ways, the civil rights movement plus more. And then from there, I can always say I'm a Georgia boy because my parents are from South Georgia, Upson County. That's where I spent a lot of my summers and my winters with my grandparents on the farm. And that's how I got my environmental roots. I tell everybody that, my grandparents, they didn't have the highest of education. They didn't, even graduate from high school. And I don't even know if barely middle school, but they're the ones who embedded me the skills to take care of the land, which take care of us and our community. And, at the time I couldn't appreciate it as a young person, but now it groomed into my career.
What are you working on right now in your career?
Ooh, man, that is the question, because I'm always hands on deck on a lot of projects. So people ask me where I live. I live between Metro Atlanta and Seattle, and I work on various different projects in both communities, all pertaining the environment, corporate responsibility, and education surrounding communities, so especially communities of color and low income white communities as well. And my main focus is to educate K through grade. So, talk about history, talk about connecting to the earth. In Seattle, I work as an outdoor school instructor. I'm a professor at a college now, teaching environmental science and social justice. I'm also grant managing $8 million grant to help preserve communities' culture and business nonprofits that support. So I'm doing that in Atlanta. I'm helping with getting youth outdoors and looking at the diversity issues of surrounding that and access issues, and also talking about doors that need to be open for jobs. So having youth and young adults think about the jobs that they never thought about, like diving and farming, and how can I support that in this environmental world? Because we talk about not seeing representation at this time, but historically the representation always been there. During segregation, it was taught and told to us about those individuals. And then when we integrated, we went to a more white dominated narrative, and those representations wasn't coming to us, and then they started trickling in. So that's, like, I tell everybody, that's a third of what I do, but in particular is about the environment, corporate responsibility, and engaging people surrounding the environment.
That's awesome. It's really exciting to hear all of the different stuff that you're working on, and it's something that I really care about as well. So just hearing you talk about it gives me, goosebumps, man. It's what we need right now in this world. So Thank you for everything that you're doing. Today, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the concept of food sovereignty, which is defined as the right of peoples to healthy and culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, and their right to define their own food and agriculture systems. So, James, what does food sovereignty mean to you? And how do you see it in the work that you do or in your life in general?
Man, food to me is the soul. And for the soul is to be educated about your culture and how it intertwines and being able to have access to those things so you can perpetuate your culture and you can keep your culture well grounded to move forever and more. Food sovereignty to me is really to be able to say, here's a seed and you can grow your own and you can do whatever you want with your own. And also, I'm questioning more and more how corporations copyright seeds. So, and how that can put pigeonhole individuals from doing things that they need to do for their own bodies, for their own spirits, for their own souls, for their own cultures, and forever and forevermore. So that's what I think about when I think about food sovereignty. Like not a young or old person or a person who never growed or person, you got them people who like, I don't have a green thumb. For them to be able to plant a seed in a field, a garden in their front plot or on their balcony or even on their kitchen counter, and to watch it grow, and watch them grow with it as well. So yeah.
That's awesome. I love that because that's one of my favorite things too. When I hear that from people like, oh, I don't have a green thumb. I don't, I've never grown a garden before. What do I do? Or even like sometimes we have Adams State University, which is the university I went to as well. People there are growing, trying to do something in a dorm room or something like that. And it's like, yeah, you can start with just something really simple on your windowsill. It doesn't have to be a 35-acre, 400-acre piece of land. It can be as small as a little planter in your house.
And like I know, like when say you have that little small dorm room, like that's enough food to feed a good group of people. When you rotating crops and you treating the soil and everything else, just taking that little small just taking a small footprint, and when you're comfortable allowing it to grow, and that's what we do every day. Like give your child a car, and you be like, oh, you only can drive to the grocery store and back. But when your child gets older, you be like, oh, you can go to that little concert and back. And then when they get to college, oh, you can go to college and do your things and get back. And then they grow and they driving all over the country and all over the world. So you just like planning, you just take the little increments, grow those little small mustard seeds, and then you're growing big crops in your wherever you live, wherever you stay. So yeah, it's taking those incremental steps.
Definitely doing what you can with what you have. So with everything that we are seeing and experiencing this year, like the political unrest, detention camps, the war on public lands, as Outside Magazine has called it, COVID-19, of course, and the international Black Lives Matter protests from metro areas, even to small rural communities like Alamosa and Del Norte. How do you see food sovereignty playing a role? Is something as simple as growing vegetables or raising heirloom seeds? How does that really make a difference?
So before I left Seattle, we was talking. COVID was at the beginning of the front. I think March 4th is like when things start breaking and start people was like, oh, what to do and not knowing. Come back like 10 days later, I'm going to the post office. Friend throws his head out the window and said, James, we got to get to it. And he took a theme from Chef Tariq, with who is a chef that talks about food sovereignty, who talks about his theme is called Feed the People. And my friend Rata said we have to feed the people. We have to get together and us as people of color. So I'm in the Chinatown International District, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Rata pulls me out, and we go from place to place. And he's talking about to people like what might be going on, and he's like, James, we need to come together. And I'm like, with my homie, and we just going, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? What the hell is going on? And then I had to stop him, and he broke stuff down, and then trigger, it like jumped in my mind. I was like, then we need to connect these farms to these community kitchens, to these people. And for me, him, and Andrew, it was also a way we had to take the information that was guided to us and be like, how do we safely know that we're going to do something radical that's also could endanger us? Because during that time we didn't know anything about, we knew limited things about COVID, but we also knew that there was elders that needed to be fed, there was first responders that needed to be fed, and there's families that need access to food, because everybody was killing the markets. You couldn't find nothing on the shelves because everything was gone. So we had to find a plan, and that plan was to take our minds to deliver food, to get with the community kitchens, make sure the community kitchens have food from the community farmers, and put it out there to support the people. And that stuff is still going on today, with Musang and also Chef Tariq's. Like they're doing fabulous jobs making sure the people have food, taking care of the people. And that's some of the things that we need to talk about. And even when I came here, because I have to take care of my own family. I have a family here, and it's not like I have kids or something, but I have my mom, I have my sister, I have my grandmother. So me knowing information I knew there and coming here, it was like, Mom, let's get this garden back growing. Like, she has a garden. She didn't know, and I'm like, let's get it growing. Let's get these things. So I go to Ace Hardware, and I just start grabbing seeds. I probably put like 70 something dollars of starts into the yard. And as you see right now, I have strawberries. We have a peach tree that was already there. We have a pear tree that's already there. We have Brussels sprouts. We have cabbages. We have collards, potatoes, onions, peppers. And from there, I took the seeds. And when I started seeing that the collards was seeding, I took the seeds, and I'm like bundling them right now together, and I'm driving them out, and I'm passing those seeds to communities in Seattle, communities in South Georgia, communities here, like Gangster the Gardeners. And shout out to Abby for the work she's doing in West Side. So like, that's what we need to do. Like, but it's been hard because one of the things is, you think about it and you're doing the work, and people ask you, how do you do it? And I have like some elite organizations. It's like, how do you do this? How do you do this? And it's like, just do the damn thing. They think about like the process, the boards, and they create all these barriers. And I'm like, no, just do it. If you're gonna feed the people, you're gonna feed the people. And I think that's historically, when I think about that, I have to think about the ones who did that before me. I have to think about the Black Panthers. Like, they didn't let anything go. They fed their people. They created programs for youth, programs that we use today in school. Like, schools wasn't feeding kids. Like, kids, like little Opie Taylor had his little lunch bags that Aunt B gave him to, and she had to make all the meals. Now kids right now, they go to school to receive meals. And without schools being open and everything else, our community kitchens are something that are really prevalent in even our Black-owned businesses and businesses of color. They're the ones who are changing up their schemes, the things that they do to not only survive, but also to feed the people and take care of the community. So we are in a time that we need to look at our activists who did stuff in the past and reactivate our souls, our minds, our bodies to push forward and do it now. Like we got the digital age behind us to deliver food, to get food to each other. We got to be thinking about that. We got to think about access. We got to think about getting foods. We got to think about being open and honest about economic opportunities, because I was just reading and it's like DC having problems with allowing some African American farmers to go into farmers markets and like Dew Point and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's not cool. It's not cool when we have these small farmers that want to give out food and get food out to people, and we're being the gatekeepers and all that. So my whole thing between there in Seattle and here was to get out and be supportive of communities by doing it for my mom's garden. My mom's garden is not that big, but you know, like I told you at the beginning, all the things that I do, I was like, how can I help? I know I can't be right there in the program and digging with everybody, but how can I help? How can I keep pushing forward and supporting the best way I can? So a lot of these organizations are about to get some bags of things, and you know, I'm gonna try to write a word to them to say let's keep this going. Those seeds are something that's instrumental to keeping us growing and keeping food. I mean, what we can say now, our administration in the White House is now creating resources. We was about to lose like millions of pounds of food. Farmers was about to dig it up and just compost it. And now this food is being bought by the government to get to communities. And when we talk about it, when I talk about it, I'm not even just talking about communities of color or marginalized low income communities. You know, I'm talking about low white income communities. People are in the rural areas too, because they get stuff too. Like, don't get it twisted. They need help too, and food is trying to go out to them as well. So, you know, that's my passion, and it comes from my grandparents. Like I said, it like when you think of it, I think of the times being out in the yard and being out on the farm in the field. So
Definitely. I feel like no matter where you come from or, you know, what you have been through in life, food is always something that connects people. From, you know, everybody's got to eat. And it's a way for us to get involved with one another's lives and traditions and cultures. It's really one of the most inspiring things about food, I think, for me.
you know,
And
but to talk about that, like, and I look at you and our friendship, like, think about what food or the experience you had eating something that you never ate before, like, and how did you get to know that individual, that friend who introduced you to it, how you got to know a little bit more about them, and how did that open up you to understand yourself and how to share your knowledge and your family's history with them as well. Like, those are things that are like so deep, and it's not just like fried chicken. It's like man, when we're talking about eating our First Nations food, when we're talking about eating like kosher meals, when we talk about eating halal, like, I just came back from Dubai, bro. That was like so dope to eat different food, eat the food that we normally eat or the businesses that we eat here, but it's halal. And it was like a whole nother ordeal, but also to understand how that country have other countries from the Mid East or Eastern Africa, and like I'm intercepting, and I'm eating those foods as well, and I'm like it was something else. Like, it opened up my taste buds, and like I bought my mom some dates from Dubai. We just cracked them open, and like they're like amazing. So you know, I think about that because we only got one life to live, and with this one life to live, I want to live it the most. Like, I don't know who you believe in, who everybody's believes in individually. But God opened up the world to me. And so I want to be able to cherish it while I'm living here on earth. So, yeah.
Definitely. I love that. And just to tie back a little bit to some of your story with getting food to the people during the pandemic, it really it resonated with me because there's a lot of parallels to what happened here too, being very different type of population and everything. I mean, it's 8,000 square miles is the San Luis Valley. And so we're talking about a lot of, really rural, small towns there's a lot of distance in between everybody's home, basically. And so it's just really interesting. Like, we have a food hub that kind of has always been operating and working with us, at least since 2015. And during this, once things kind of got started here, probably mid-March, we really increased the local food system capacity a lot because there was more need for it. Same type of thing. There was no flour on the shelves anymore. And, when you're in quarantine and you're living on a budget, flour's like a necessary staple, you know what I mean? Especially you got a big family. And so you couldn't find flour at any of the grocery stores. And meanwhile, we've got a local mill cranking out flour. We got, cornmeal. We got all kinds of things that are coming out of this local resource. And so they've increased their CSA production a lot, which is a combination of all these different farms in the area. But one of the things that really made me think of it was at the beginning of their staff meetings and their routes, that's like their slogan too. They're like, feed the people. And that's how they start their day. It's like, it's just about getting food to people, and they're doing home deliveries. And so it's just like, it's a necessity. And even though these things have existed, now we're really seeing how important it is to support these local agricultural systems, because when, the stuff hits the fan, you got to rely on your neighbor. We can't rely indefinitely on large corporate systems anymore, especially when we're talking about ones that are, fueled and founded in a system of oppression. And that's a big part of it too. When we're talking local grassroots movements, these are coming from the people for the people. They're not coming from, an elite mindset of trying to control and power and things like that. It's coming from our backyards, from our gardens, and from our history, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, fresh green beans taste way different than canned green beans. Like,
Definitely.
yeah, and yeah, like you said, it makes a difference when you know your farmer, when you see your farmer, and your farmer has you and your family in the best interest, and they connected to your culture, or they know your culture, and they, it's something different, man. It's really authentic, in a sense. So, yeah.
All right. So what are some ways that you believe people can take action around building local food systems and supporting food sovereignty, beyond just starting to grow your own food?
We're in the digital age now, so Google it and see who's around you. Drive around your neighborhood. You might see somebody who's selling eggs. You might see somebody who's selling produce. Shout them out, point them out, tell people where they are at. Right now, our local markets, the produce prices are going high. They're getting high. The news reported that things are getting high. My mom and my auntie, they was looking through and they was like, oh, these beans or something, they're getting high and this going high and everything. And I'm like, how y'all know this? Because they shoppers, so they know these things. So see who's around, support them. Because if you're supporting your local community is going to support that. They're going to know you. You're gonna get those discounts that you deserve or that you can get. They'll work with you. They're trying to get rid of. They're not trying to have all those scraps and foods and everything else. You will see that cycle build right there in your community. So I would say, look around, drive around, see what local farms you have, see what local gardens you have, see what local CSAs that are around. Don't forget about the churches. Some of the churches might have a yard or garden to grow on, or it can be your mosque, it can be your temple, whatever. They might have an area to grow if they're not already growing food. Let's definitely work as a community and also try to set our pride to the side, even if you need to ask for something or you need to ask for help or assistance. We need to grow ourselves and we need to help support each other in the best you can. Reach out to a neighbor, ask a neighbor what they have, if they need anything. It's been like during COVID and being in the house, our neighbor has been so supportive of each other in the best that we can. Like one of my neighbors just dropped off a package of like certain things in our door. We've been dropping off other packages at their door. So be supportive, be safe. I think, if you're thinking about growing your gardens, a lot of these things have done before. So look at your local agriculture schools and Google them and see like if I can grow these cucumbers now, or what can I grow now in my garden at the house or in my community garden. Seeing what you can do and getting with a collective group of people to watch it so it can grow. So those are like a couple of things that I think about and a couple of things that I see. But like I said, like we can Google it. There's a lot of young, beautiful minds that are on YouTube. There's a lot of agricultural resources that are out there, a lot of books. Hopefully your library can give you those resources. I know that we all can't go in the libraries, but hopefully your local library, if they haven't done, you set up a system so they can get you those resources that you need, that they can mail them to you or send them over to you in some type of fashion form. So we're in the day and the age of resources. So we need to utilize those resources so we can bring out the facts, and the facts going to help us move forward. So those are a couple of ideas that I have. I know that they're not all in all be all. There's probably other resources or ideas that are out there. So yeah, those are some of the things that I suggest.
Right on. And since you mentioned the library, we've got the public library in Alamosa, and then there's also the Adams State Nielsen Library, which also has a really cool seed bank. So if you're looking for some seeds, you want to try some heirloom stuff from this area, for those of you listening, check it out. It's a really incredible resource. And it's one of those things too, if you have heirloom seeds that maybe have been passed down, you can add them to the seed bank and help preserve those heirloom varieties, because that's a really important thing for us right now. And speaking of seeds, James, why don't we exchange some seeds? I could send you some seeds from my garden. Maybe you could send me some collars. What do you think about that?
Bruh, I'm always down. Just drop. You got my number. Just drop the address, and I'm down to drop you some seeds or pass over some seeds. That's not a problem. Yeah.
All right. That sounds great. I've been looking for some good collards seeds. It's actually fairly hard to find out here for some reason, but yeah, looking for some really good ones.
And you got to tell me how they grow, and when they grow, because I'm gonna put that out there. I need to taste them because I want to see the difference between growing them in your region versus growing them in our region. Because we have to add stuff to the soil because we the red clay state, and it's just one of the things that we add fertilizer or mend the soil and stuff like that. But I mean, you come from a different region, so there's gonna be different minerals and everything in the collard. So I don't know. I'm amped about this.
Yeah, me too, man. Let me know what I can send you, what you think you would be interested. We can talk more about. I'll give you some options.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit more about any projects that you want to share with us that you're currently working on, and or what is next for you, what you're looking forward to be doing in the future?
Projects, next project. So currently, I can say the projects in the Seattle right now. Currently, we the Black Farmers Collective just became a nonprofit. We're helping support Black regional farms in the Pacific Northwest. You know, from helping with various different things, from admin, from work to actually having a farm ourselves. So that is one of the major programs right now. Something that I'm on the board and working at. A local organization that I'm on the board of in Seattle, Nurturing Roots. So Executive Director Naima Clark, she's doing a magnificent job during COVID with bringing people to the garden, being spaced out, teaching them, giving them produce on top of educating people on a digital platform. Her video is about to drop, about her documentary about like what's going on and everything else. So shout out to Naima. Let's see. Shout out to Pioneer Square and also Chinatown International District. You know, I'm helping with COVID. We having impacts on businesses. These are the most the two communities in Seattle that have historically hit due to a lot of various different things. When we talk about people from low income to high income, that disparity is there. So I'm working with different nonprofits, and they're doing their thing, and my job is able to support them with funds that they need. So we're breaking down barriers. Like I'm really working on how to break down barriers with funding people, which is something like, well, like all these people are throwing out money now, and how you throw out money and how you know, you might be doing something at the heart, but like funding and philanthropy can be barriers in itself, to give people access to do things that they need to do to support their communities. So I'm working with that. Here in Atlanta, supporting an organization called WAWA, West Atlanta Watershed Alliance. We got some projects. I'm trying to help jump off this shark therapy project. So working with gangsters, gardeners, and shark therapy in Wawa is where we'll be taking some young individuals and taking them from the city. They're learning about their ecological systems in the city. They're supporting other gardens and growing. And then we teach them what are water goals. So we'll be taking them down to South Florida, and they'll be going snorkeling with sharks. So like I said, open up opportunities to young individuals. So I'm working on that that whole funding platform for that. I'm also, you know, I'm still doing some things with Natural Leaders and Children in Nature Network with access to youth, diversity, and the empowerment of young individuals. I'm trying to get them to understand that they got the power to make changes in this community to help sustain the community and push forward. So I'm doing that. And then Professor. So the good thing about this digital age is I can do a lot of things on the computer, and then I go outside, and then I can have my me time, or I can go outside into communities and I can help out. So everything works fast. I love it because I get to teach, and I get to teach the knowledge, and I get to share. I'm trying to build, I mean, people get mad at the phones and phone technology. I'm trying to utilize the phone technology to tell my story a little bit more often. I'm always doing so much work that I never tell my story. I never talk about what I truly do, which is a good thing for me, a little bit, but I just love doing the work, man. So those are a couple of projects and a couple of things that's on my mind that I'm working on. Social justice is big right now. Um, you know, when we're talking about the Black Lives Matter movement and the oppression of people of color, when we talk about the oppression of Black men and women, when we talk about police brutality, like working on what the next steps. I mean, we're seeing a lot of these protests. We're seeing people that are out there expressing their love and their passion about what's going on and how things need to change. And so I'm working with certain individuals about what's the next steps that we can do and how we can provide it. That is really something that is on the forefront, and something that's on the back of my mindset. Out of all of these things I got to do, I also think about, I'm a young Black male myself, and when I go out, anything can happen, and I provide for my family. So that's a resource that somebody can be taken away, just like that. So, um, being honest, those are the things that I'm thinking about. And then the biggest thing out of all of that, I'm learning about self care. um, uh, you know, this is a hard time, like to go through COVID and then go through Black lives being lost, and think about this stuff emotionally, and then also supporting other communities and people, and professions. So that takes its toll too. So getting out in the garden is something that relieves my soul, and also working with. I'm dropping all these bombs, like this organization called Iwi Fresh, and they provided me like with all of these organic uh, beauty products and stuff like that, conditioners. So I've been taking care of myself. I've been taking care of my mind, my body, my soul, and yeah, getting ready for Juneteenth with my organization, Environmental People of Color, or Environmental Professionals of Color. So those are the things that I've been doing. Those are the latest bombs. A lot of things on my calendar right now, and but like I said, in the basis, I love doing it. I love connecting people and culture, and I'm glad to be on here. I'm glad that you're hosting this, bro.
Thanks. And thanks for sharing your story with us today. It was really great getting to chat with you. And for our listeners, I just wanted to ask you if they are interested in following you or finding out some of the work that you're doing, what is the best way for them to do that?
Um, like I said, I'm a digital boy. You can follow me on Instagram at SEAL underscore of underscore approval. Um, you follow me on there. You can hit me up on there. You can see what I'm doing and what I'm talking about. You can see a little bit of my life on there and some of the projects that I share. That's the first way you can link, LinkedIn and everything. So those are, yeah, that's it, man. Follow me.
Right on. Awesome. Thank you so much, James.
Thank you. Abe is about to have my followers boost up about 1,000 trillion some people right now. I don't even know how I'm gonna get through all of these people. They're gonna be liking and sharing. That's good.
Well, I hope so. So if you're on Instagram, go ahead and check out James. And if you are interested in learning more about the Local Foods Coalition, you can visit our website at www.slvlocalfoods.org. Thanks again, James, for being on the show today. It was really a pleasure, and hope to talk to you again soon.
We'll do it. Thank you, bro.
Right on. You have been listening to KRZA 88.7 FM Community Radio. This is the Local Foods, Local Places radio program. It will be streaming online as well on krza.org and on our website, slvlocalfoods.org. Thanks again, and have a great day.